Fantastic. You've tuned into Voice CEO Conversations, where we're discussing the relationship between technology and humanity. From startup to exit, everyday people to enterprising entrepreneurs, we are one and the same when it comes to walking the talk and being the bosses of our own voice. Voice tech for humanity's sake. We either do or we don't, and that's what we're here to talk about. I'm joined here by none other than the one-wheeling Mr. Hello Future, CEO of attn.live, Mr. Ian Utile, now for day 5.
We are on day 5.
Day 5
of our Voice CEO conversations. And Nigel, to you, I say cheers. I got 4 of these
Cheers.
mugs. So I could basically have one of these white mugs every single day. And I put my coffee in these tea bags made by a company called Steeped Coffee. And I basically just keep really refilling my mug with hot water. The coffee gets less strong throughout the day, but I still get that nice, dark, black coffee like I like it. I want nothing in my coffee, just the grounds.
I shall have to try that. You have me intrigued. Nothing like a good coffee.
Okay, here's what people say when they try steeped coffee. They go, I don't even need cream or sugar for this. This is good coffee. So it's boutique coffee, and you can check it out after our conversation, or I can send you a box.
I will absolutely do that. I'm
give me your address.
Intrigued.
I'll send you a box of steeped coffee.
All right. So let's get into this one. This is the one we've been waiting for.
I turned the heater on for this conversation. I don't even need the heater. Okay.
No, because I'm about to turn the heat up on
I know
you, my friend.
it's 61 and sunny here in Santa Cruz. I got no reason for a heater except for I thought, we're talking today about a topic that could use a little extra heat. So why don't you introduce the topic for us, Nigel?
Yes, indeed. We've been waiting for this one. Non-fun. The dark side of NFTs. So I was thinking about this one today, and I decided I'm going to embrace my inner rabble rouser today and really turn up the heat on this one. So just to set the table a little bit, there's been so much talk about NFTs. It's exciting. Everybody wants to get into it. Can I make money with my art? Can I own my own intellectual property? All the things that circle around that conversation. But the thing that I do not find that there's enough conversation about, at least not for me, is just getting down to the more radically pragmatic, what do I have to be aware of? The proverbial buyer beware. And I came up with a couple of things. I jot these down. I'm just gonna read them out. So the big ones on my mind are these, and then we'll take them one by one. One, the whole gas fees, no gas fees. Because whether or not people know what's going on, they've heard about the gas fees. They're all about, what about these gas fees? You're gonna make your NFT token, and all of a sudden you get hit, bam, big receipt, big bill. What am I gonna do, right? The next thing is that I've discovered recently, actually, is as much as we talk about digital art, and that could be music, that could be actual art, where is this actually being stored? Because if I understand correctly, and you could correct me, can large quantities of data, large files live on the blockchain? Is that a thing? So hang on to that answer. What's centralized, what's decentralized? You hear about Coinbase, and you hear, you kind of switching fiat currency for Ether, whatever the case may be. So what is the differentiation there? And then finally, I want you to make the capstone, just some practical tips for the average human to think about when you're dealing with NFTs, the buyer beware stuff. So let's go from the beginning.
I want to put most of my, So, okay, gas fees, no gas fees. So yes. There is a gas fee. A gas fee is the fee that a person or organization pays in order to put something on the blockchain ledger. For instance, if you want to put an NFT on the V1 Ethereum ledger, it is very expensive and very slow. It can cost you $100 to mint an NFT, and it could take 5 hours for the NFT to actually be minted on the chain. Therefore, there are alternative V1.5 chains that most people are using. Like we use the Matic blockchain, MATIC. It costs us less than a penny to mint an NFT on the Matic blockchain, which is a fork, a V1.5 of Ethereum, and it's done almost instantaneously in a matter of seconds or milliseconds. Ethereum version 2 is coming out. That should speed up the core Ethereum chain and also make it very affordable. Different organizations do different things. Like OpenSea, I believe it's free to mint on OpenSea for most people, where an organization like Foundation for Photographers, I think they're charging like $40 to mint. So people have to do their due diligence and decide if they matter, if it matters to them, what chain it's on. It usually does not matter to a collector, as long as it's on a legitimate Ethereum or Ethereum forked blockchain that has the respect of the decentralized community. You're in a good position. Next question.
All right, let me just ask one thing just to clarify.
Yeah.
What I heard somebody say to me is that basically, if you think about it this way, think about Ethereum or the blockchain, whatever platform, as the canvas. It really doesn't matter what canvas it's on, and it's not going to matter to the artist. And as much as these chains, and you correct me if I'm wrong, as much as these chains are V1, V2, forked, layer 2, whatever the case may be, they could just as soon become just as popular or just as authoritative as the bigger chains as more people adopt it. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that. The next one is, where does your art actually live? Is it actually on a blockchain, or is it just a link?
It's very rarely on the actual blockchain because of two reasons. The cost to host a video file or an audio file is almost unfathomable because it's decentralized servers. So there'd be ongoing fees to host that content. Even artwork, it feels unnecessary to have to host it on decentralized servers, but of course some people do. Now, one of the main reasons why people would not want to host their actual artwork, their collectible item, their song, or their video on a blockchain is that it is immutable, unchangeable. And so if there's ever a mistake, ever a change, anything that would ever need to change with that work, there is an advantage to using centralized cloud servers for the actual artwork, audio file, video file, etc., photograph, and use the Ethereum blockchain to prove the receipt of who owns it and the rights that come with it and the ability to transfer it from one party to another party. Now, some people might totally disagree with me and they say, no, every single NFT needs to be on the IPFS. IPFS is the decentralized alternative. It's one of many, but it is a well-known decentralized alternative to centralized cloud servers like AWS, GCS, and Azure. So there's not an easy answer for some of these questions, but that's my personal perspective. For us, we have not chosen to put our audio files at attn.live on the blockchain. We choose to hold those in centralized cloud servers because we feel like it's best for our users at this point. And if there becomes a affordable alternative to put it on the chain, we're totally open to that. Or if we had an enterprise client that demanded it for a fee, and if they wanted to bear the financial burden and bear the legal ramifications of never being able to remove something, never being able to change something, then we'd be happy to entertain that. Yeah.
I think you might have frozen, but we'll
Okay, I see you again. You hear me?
gotten too hot.
Okay, here we go. That's actually it's actually a possibility that my computer has gotten too hot from this heater.
It's so funny.
My back's on fire.
I was just saying that. I said I think the conversation had gotten too hot, or maybe the heater has gotten too hot. So we'll have to add a couple more minutes just to make up for it.
Well, this is a good topic. Topic, and
absolutely.
And I feel very calm and very zen right now talking about this very intense topic.
Well, wait till we get into the deeper media discussions where we segment these off. You may not feel as calm. As calm.
Hit me. I did. I double dog dare you.
Bank on it now. Crypto
I
bank.
know I am.
All right. So that was good. The centralized versus decentralized. Now, to keep it more succinct, Coinbase versus MetaMask. Just kind of give us kind of the contrast between those two. Or is that a bad example?
I don't feel like an authority on those two. And so they're totally different
let's keep
things.
It general then. That's fair.
They're totally different things. And I don't know if I want to go into explain it, but let me explain decentralized versus centralized in a way that anybody can understand it.
Yeah.
Alcohol Anonymous is decentralized.
Okay.
Salvation Army is centralized. They both basically have the same end result that they're going for. The result is, if you are a human that is in a place where you've been overcome by addiction, specifically to alcohol, and it's causing chaos and turmoil and trauma in your life and the lives around you,
mm-hmm.
you can come to Salvation Army, and we have a centralized, trustworthy, established system where it's no shade being thrown at Salvation Army. It's just the way it's structured. It's a slave master institution. There's the person at the top that runs, and there's the board, and there's the hired staff, there's the volunteers, there's the people in the program, and everything decisions are made at the top. And every single Salvation Army, like the Catholic Church, would be another example of a centralized organization where all the decisions are made at the top. So there's one point of failure. There's also one point of accountability. So there's some positives and negatives in communities. Now you take Alcohol Anonymous, anybody can launch an Alcohol Anonymous gathering. Or you think about non-denominational churches where the pastor never even went to church, never went to school to get a degree, just decided that he wanted to build a community and preach from the sacred scriptures and sing some, faith-oriented songs and collect donations. So that's way different than the Catholic Church, right? It's a decentralized community where there's not one point of failure. Now, when you come to technology, you think about a good example would be like your server in your office or in your house would be the most centralized server. If anything happens, it has one point of failure. You could lose everything with a fire, with an earthquake, with a flood, with a break-in, somebody steals it, now everything's gone. And then you think about how servers have been decentralized over time. And I'll take IPFS, which I mentioned earlier, which is very similar to like an Azure or an AWS or a GCS, cloud-based services, in that it's in the cloud, but instead of it being one point where all these servers are connected to mama, it's like nieces and nephews. All these servers are spread throughout the world. They're all interconnected, but if one gets cut off, if one gets removed, if one gets shut down, it does not affect the whole. So the point of a decentralized community is to put the power in the hands of the party people and take the power out of the hands of the leaders on the top of the pyramid. The point of decentralized technology compared to centralized technology is that you have tech that there's not a single point of failure. And if something happens to one piece of the tech, it doesn't necessarily, or one part of the server, one of the many, thousands or millions of servers, it doesn't affect the whole. And so this gives a lot more flexibility for things to grow and fade naturally and organically. So I believe humanity is destined for decentralized autonomous organizations, decentralized autonomous communities, and decentralized technology, even though I think capitalism will still be strong across the world. I think that companies like attn.live can build proprietary technology, file patent for our proprietary technology, write a global white paper declaring the big problem that we're trying to solve, sell our technology to enterprise, bring our technology to consumers, and we can still make money as a decentralized, autonomous organization where we are going to put the power in the hands of the content creators and content consumers. And then if you compare our community to the community of the big tech companies, the Twitters and the YouTubes and the Facebooks of the world, basically anybody can be shadow banned. They can be deplatformed. They can be stifled and censored. Well, in a decentralized, autonomous community, the big mama up top would never be doing the shadow banning and the censoring. Potentially, one of the micro communities would censor and shut somebody up in their micro community, but that wouldn't stop that other person from going and building their own community or going into other communities. So this is the point of centralized versus decentralized.
Okay, that gave me a good, foundation for it. So lastly, and I want to kind of move this along, give me 3 quick tips that you would give to anybody, the average human, thinking about NFTs, perhaps an artist. What should they do? What should they be thinking about?
Go to NFT NYC, so nft.nyc, the website, or go to the NFT NYC YouTube page. We've been creating content. This is the world's leading non-fungible token event. I got involved as a co-producer of their live event in 2018. We launched in 2019. We have hundreds of videos before there was any hype, before there was any money. All that is being manifest today was talked about early on over the last 2.5 years. I did a talk February 2019 in the PlayStation Theater at our very first event called NFT 2024. And it wasn't my own predictions. I interviewed several dozen speakers, and I basically collected all of our predictions and kind of baked it into this talk. I think that's the first thing I tell somebody to do. Go to NFT NYC, do your own research on things that were said before there was a lot of money in the game. Number 2, find a celebrity that is a business person that you respect and that is very involved with NFTs, and pay attention not just to what they say, but what they do. Example would be Marguerite, who is the CEO of Neon District. She would be kind of a celebrity in the NFT space. Or Steve, known as Crypto Steve, the founder of Digital and many things, probably the most prolific collector of NFTs I've ever heard of. He would be a celebrity in this space. Josie Bellini, one of the most prolific artists in the NFT crypto art space. One that many people would know, Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Or Mark Cuban. Or maybe some people would want to listen to Lindsay Lohan or Paris Hilton. I only chuckle because it's foreign to me that these 2 gals decided to jump headfirst into NFTs, but I understand that they're like all about it and they're putting their energy towards it. So find somebody that you can resonate with, whether it's somebody from the NFT space, like I mentioned, Marguerite and Steve and Josie, right? Or it's somebody that's just kind of well-known in media, a Gary Vaynerchuk, a Mark Cuban, or somebody that's like a celebrity that's kind of jumped into the space, like a Lindsay or a Paris. Find somebody and track what they're doing, what they're saying on Twitter, in the news, and don't just listen to them, but watch them. What NFTs are they collaborating with? How are they creating their NFTs? What chains are they using? Who are their strategic partners? What are they buying? What are they selling? And now don't just track them to be in agreement with them. Don't be like a yes person just because you like Gary Vaynerchuk. Track what he's going to do on May 5th. Watch what he does on May 5th. You may completely disagree with whatever it is that he ends up doing. So just because it's him doing it, and you might respect him because he built a 9-figure service agency and he's built this massive brand that's given him a lot of attention and influence, doesn't mean that you're going to agree with his NFT moves. But it is a wise decision to track what others not just say or tweet, but do. And so that's my second point, is to track, right? First is NFT NYC, second is to track. The third is, if you're asking my advice, I would say find out an NFT that you would be interested in collecting. And even if it's the cheapest photo, it's the cheapest piece of art, it's an inexpensive thing, right? It'll maybe only cost you $3, $33. And it's not some sort of major investment. Like, go and get yourself a wallet, right? Go and buy an NFT, participate in the space. In addition, besides just buying, consider, is there anything that you could turn into an NFT? Do you have a photograph? Do you have an art piece? Do you have a doodle? Do you have a podcast? Do you have a song? Can you take something that's yours, that belongs solely to you, and can you put it on the blockchain as an NFT, even if you have no intention of selling it, just so that you can go through the process of learning? And there's a lot of ways to learn how to buy and how to sell. And I mentioned these, half dozen or more people. And I think going and following any of them, they all have their own way. But OpenSea's done a great job on this. OpenSea wrote the NFT Bible, non-fungible, wrote a 100-page plus document on the NFT market. as did NFT NYC. So those are my 3 suggestions. Number 1, NFT NYC, because it's the trustworthy leading source of information last 2.5 years before there was money, before there was power, before there was fame. Number 2, find somebody you can track what they do and what they say. And number 3, buy an NFT. Don't need to spend a lot of money on it, just for the process of learning, and also ideally create an NFT so you can see what the process is to do so. Those are my 3 pieces of advice.
Love it. Love it. I will make notes and proceed accordingly. And that is a good way for us to segue into first me mentioning our talk tomorrow, which is almost be like a continuation of this in a matter of speaking, which is NFT attention versus NFT value. I think that's going to be a nice way to kind of round this topic out. We definitely went a little long, but I'm thrilled that you took the time to actually elaborate, because I think this is something, I know this is something on everyone's mind. I'm getting tons of questions about it. I have questions of my own, and you've definitely at least given me some direction to go in, as well as some food for thought. So let
me end on this, because the title of our talk is non-fun, the dark side of NFTs.
Right.
I really, really want to clearly communicate that there is a significant dark side to NFTs today. Just like there was a dark side to the ICO, initial coin offering boom, that happened a few years ago. Just like there was a dark side to the .com boom that happened in the late 90s. The dark side is that when there's a lot of heat and energy and excitement and enthusiasm and money and power and fame around a new technology, even if the technology is completely valid, like obviously cars have pink slips, houses have deeds, and every digital item can have an NFT, and it removes all friction, all middlemen. It's glorious. But let's really focus on the dark side. The dark side is this: potentially 80%, maybe 95% of the money that's funneled into the NFT market, the people that have invested in artwork and other NFTs, it's a very large percentage that will likely not make money from their NFT, and they bought it as a speculative investment. And most of the large purchases were people that were diversifying their gains on Bitcoin and Ethereum into other things. But many people have gotten caught up in this, and they're going to be left with a item that they potentially paid $10,000 for, that eventually will be worth $100. And that's a real dark side to this. And I'm very concerned with the fact that the NFT industry was earning more and more of a reputation, and more honor, and more respect. And people were starting to build great technology and great teams, and investors were coming into the space, and like we were organically building this. And then this explosion happened. And a big concern is that there's a lot of people that have taken advantage of this explosion, have made a lot of money from it, and that there are people that are going to be held, with these items that won't have the value, or even 10%, maybe only 1% of the value that they had originally invested. That's a real dark side of the industry. So I try to warn people, be very, very careful. When CryptoKitties came out 3 years ago, people bought CryptoKitties for pennies and dollars and tens of dollars, and some were worth thousands and tens of thousands and $100,000+ right? I bought an artwork piece from Josie Bellini. I bought a couple of them, NFTs, that were a couple $100. I basically bought them as like a way to support her. I didn't really think of it as a huge investment. And recently there's 20 of them that were made, and recently one sold for $330,000. So like, that's amazing. Now, if I sold that NFT for $330,000, maybe that would be okay because it's Josie Bellini. But there's a lot of people that have made a lot of money, and when there's money and power and notoriety and news and press, people do silly, silly things. And so I just want to encourage everybody, there is a non-fun side to NFTs. There is a dark side to NFTs. And if you start investing your money without the knowledge of what it is that you're investing into, there is a potential that you're going to pay the consequence you deserve to pay, because you made a decision that was based on speculative investing. You made a gamble, and sometimes gambling doesn't work out so well. So when you engage with NFTs, don't engage as a gambler unless you want to gamble. When you engage with NFTs, engage with your mind, engage with math, and engage with other people that can help guide you along that route, even if you don't talk to them directly, just by watching what they do and listening. to what they say or tweet or whatnot. So I wanted to kind of end it on that note to make sure we really exhausted, at least as much as we reasonably could, the dark side of NFTs.
I definitely want to have a deeper conversation about this and invite other people to participate, because I think there's going to be a lot of value in the practical knowledge, like some of what you gave. Because I think the biggest risk, or the biggest non-fun portion of this, the dark side, is really the not knowing. You know, venturing in, if you go down a dark alleyway and you don't know what's on the other side, may not work out so well for you. So I think that the practical advice you gave was particularly helpful. And I think what we're going to talk about tomorrow, just to segue into that, you know, in terms of value versus attention, because there is a bit of hype around it. People are actually making money. Some people have figured out a few things. Well, maybe not figured out. Some people have won. I don't know about like the figuring out part, but I think some people have won. And I feel like somewhere in between there, in the seams, is the opportunity to take some practical, you know, information and turn it into some pragmatic action and make that viable for the average human. And with that, I'm going to thank you for your time. I'm going to remind everyone that our voice is our passport and conversation is our currency. I am Nigel Wright, Voice CEO and Gratitude Champion. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm done speaking. Thank you, Ian. See you tomorrow, my friend.